This Road to Osaka series was powered by Mizuno. We heard from Reece Edwards, Rachel McGuinness and Julian Spence and other top Australian marathoners in their push and eventual race of the Osaka Marathon on Feb 25. Now, crew, welcome back. Episode 7 or 8, I think we've got through. Saw you all last week. Bit of a somber episode. Look, Rachel's smiling. She's happy about this. Reece and I are going to be down in the dumps. Not one. Oh, look, Reece, we'll get into your race, but you did finish the marathon. So 1 out of 3 finishes.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, you did. You did semi pull it off. We were in Osaka during the week. You guys were on the Mizuno trip. So how about we start off? We'll get into that. But, Rach, how about you just give us an update on how you're feeling injury-wise? Like, are you still on you're not on crutches over there?
No, so I decided to take the boot off pretty much. I took it off the morning that we left, which was the Wednesday before the race. And I've just been walking normally since then. But I had no pain before I went onto crutches or into the boot, so I wasn't expecting to get any coming out of it. And it's been fine. Like, we've been walking around cities done like 20,000 steps today, and it's been fine. Like, I'm not getting any symptoms at all. So all things considered, it's about as good as it can be.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. So you're in the gym over there? Found any gyms for elliptical or bikes?
No, the problem is the gyms here, they all open at like 10 or 11. So it's quite late to start the day. And I've caught like the post-marathon cold that everyone else seems to have gotten despite not having run the marathon. So yeah, I've just done a little bit of like calf raises and strength work in the room. But just taking a chill week.
20,000 steps, that's still a tiring day though. I know the feeling of that. Jeez. Yeah. It's a lot of like interactions with people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 20,000 steps doesn't mean you're actually interacting with people.
It is in Japan. It is when there's 36 million people live in Tokyo. And I reckon you walk past half of them just in an hour's walk.
Yeah.
You got sick though. That's no good. You're out there though. You're out in that cold, rain, wind. Mm-hmm. What was your take on the day of the race?
So I tried to. Mizuno gave me a staff pass, so I was actually able to get like really close to the start line. I didn't think I'd be able to get as close as I was, but I was essentially just the other side of the tape. Got to like see you both at the start line and see the start. And then I wanted to get to, there was a bit where around 12, 13K and 20K were on two opposite sides of the street. So I just got the train as soon as the start had gone. I got the train straight to sort of kilometer 12. I think I missed both of you guys, but I managed to catch, I think like Tara and Gemma Maney. They were kind of like around the sort of 2:30-ish kind of people running. So I caught them and then crossed underneath the subway to get to the other side and then saw you guys, both of you, around the 20K mark. And then I managed to then get the train again to like near the last K, 41K, and then walked back to the finish to see like a few other people finishing as well. So managed to get around a fair amount of the city. So saw quite a few people.
You've done pretty well there, because it was a little tough to navigate, especially if you like took a wrong exit out of a train station. Because I know like when like I obviously stopped at 20 and then tried to get back to 40 after watching a few people come through, and we sort of like butchered it a little bit. We got to 40, but we didn't really. I can't remember who it would have been right at about. Missed Brady, missed you, Reece. I don't think we saw Tara. Who did we see come through? Maybe like the 240 group. But yeah, I found it a tough course to spectate on, actually, just from that last half.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, luckily because the Mizuno gave me that pass, there was a bit where even at the 41K mark, they let me go a lot closer than the rest of the spectators were allowed to, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, cool. Tell us about this Mizuno trip. Like, what do you get up to during the week? Reece can talk about the race. You can talk about the Mizuno trip if you like.
Yeah. So most people, I think, arrived on the Thursday, and that's when Reece arrived as well. And then they basically had activities planned from the Thursday evening onwards. So the Thursday night, they had a shakeout run, and I saw Reece just before that.
That was not a shakeout run. Yeah. That was not a shakeout run.
Wait, was this the midnight one?
Yeah, so this is the one, I don't know, the one that's been on, I think it's been on Japan Running News. Like, there's a little article about it.
I saw something about this.
Yeah. So I wasn't on that, so I've avoided the fallout from that. So I saw Reece just before that, and you'd only just got off like the plane a couple of hours ago and hadn't slept, and you looked pretty shocking. And then you were like, "Yeah, I'm off on this shakeout run," and it was supposed to be 6 or 7K, and I think they'd said it'll be around 5-minute Ks, but I think it ended up being like 7-minute Ks with like little boot camp exercises between traffic. Like
how many? What's it take? 5K, 90 minutes. Do that conversion.
Well, at midnight.
No, it started at
8 p.m.
Oh, 8 p.m. Oh, right. Oh, why did I think it was midnight? I thought that was
midnight runners, which are like there's one Tokyo-based running group, and they kind of came and hosted the shakeout run.
Gotcha. So tell us about this fallout. I want to because I haven't read the article. Someone sent it to me.
Not really any fallout. Someone just said an article. Basically, down in, I think it's down close to the Dotonbori, which is like downtown Osaka. They have these kind of half indoor shopping malls, but it's got like a pedestrianized street through it, so there's quite a lot of footfall. And I think the runners ran through this shopping mall down this street, and people were kind of screaming and whooping and stuff, and then someone's like written an article in Japan Running News saying they thought there was like a bunch of punks like coming down the street because they were all screaming, and they were like, I was scared and wasn't sure what's going on. But
what were you screaming, Reece? What were you yelling?
Mate, we're just screaming in joy. We're running so fast. It would be, if you imagine someone like me running full pelt at you, mate, that's an intimidating figure. So I don't blame him for riding in.
You must have been loud though. Like were you filming yourself? Is that what happened?
So I thought it was going to be a shakeout run, and I was the only person that turned up without a camera or a phone. I actually turned up in running gear, but I didn't need to be in running gear. There's more squats and burpees and push-ups and yoo-hooing and wahoo, I don't know, whatever you say, bloody going on. Then, it wasn't ideal, to be honest.
That would have troubled you, the squatting.
So on the squatting, I was doing like half squats. Push-ups, I just lay down on the wet ground and just pretended I was doing something. The whole time I'm thinking there's no way in hell Moose did this last year. No way. I was like, Moose would take 2 steps in this and walk away. There's like a hype man with a boombox. It was very, very loud. It would have actually, if I was having a lovely evening with my partner down there and this group came through, I would have been like, morons.
All right. So that was Reece's run group on Thursday night. Friday, do you go to the office Friday or?
Friday we did the expo first. So went around the expo and people collected their bibs, and then it was like the Mizuno engine in the afternoon, which is like their headquarters and where they do all their shoe development and testing. So it was good to kind of see the other side of that and see how they develop the shoes. And one of the guys like spoke through his like method of like how he creates new shoes, and he said sometimes I just have a dream about a pair of shoes, and then I wake up and in the morning I go straight to the development like room, and he just carves out a new pair of shoes, and he has himself he just does them in his size and has a new pair of shoes by the evening, which is pretty cool. And he was running Osaka as well, and he was running in a pair of shoes that he's created specifically for himself.
It's cool. Like when I went last year, one of the cool things was that they have all the machines the factories have on their at the building, so that they can create a sample on premises, test it at the sports lab downstairs, make tweaks to it by the afternoon, and it just seems like it's very dialed in their development process. Whereas other companies, they have to get samples made offshore and then have it sent back, and it just seemed that little bit above that was pretty cool.
It was really cool. And we were allowed to try, they've got a new, it's called the mystery shoe. It's not like it's going to be released, I think, in a few months, so we all got to try a pair of those as well. And then what did we do that evening? I think it was a dinner that evening, and then the following day was the day when we went to the castle and they did like the shoot of everyone in. So I think they did this when you did it, Jules. It was the morning of the marathon, and you were like, we're all out in the cold. So they changed it, so we did it on the Saturday, and like actually the weather on Saturday was absolutely amazing. It was like clear skies, still like cool but not too cold, and like we were all put on the Mizuno kit, and they did like pictures in front of the castle. And they did like a blessing in one of the, like a small temple or shrine there, where like they did like a good fortune blessing, and then we all got to hang like a little Japanese like kind of fortune thing on where you wrote like a goal of yours. And then I think then Reece, you went off to the elite briefing and to collect your bib. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all.
I can touch on that later if you want.
Okay.
It wasn't very exciting. Caught a taxi, picked up my bib, caught another taxi.
And then after that, we all went to the Mizuno flagship store, which is like a seven floor store, and they have like each level has different things. Like it's crazy the amount of stuff that Mizuno does in Japan, because the stock on the Australian website, like they have a fair amount of running stuff, golf, but like not really a great deal of other stuff, and a few ball sports as well. But they have like equestrian stuff, baseball, swimming stuff, life like wear, walking gear, like everything. There's like absolutely everything. So it was cool to see that. And I bought a pair of the Sonic tights.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's good. They had them.
Yeah, they did. They only had a few pairs left, but managed to get one. Well, as Reece, I think, has said, maybe mentioned before, they're so hard to get on, like up over your thighs. So like they're tight, but once they're on, they feel pretty good. But be interested.
No, I bought 5 or 6 pairs at the Tokyo store.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Just a few gifts for people.
Yeah,
because you only get it in Japan at the moment.
Yeah. And then the next day was then race day after that. So
yeah. Post race, did you see Reece in full flight?
Yeah, so not in full flight. I didn't see him doing the karaoke because I went to, so Mizuno had like a Japanese like cultural dinner. So we had like it was in like a floor with like tatami mats, and like everyone that was from the Mizuno crew was all like sat, and they did like the little boxes where you have like your food served in drawers, and like broth that you cook everything in. But Reece stayed out, and then so I don't think I saw you for the rest of the night, actually. I don't know, because a few of us ended up at a different karaoke bar, so I think we
okay,
you stayed out, Reece. Naughty boy.
No, I do feel bad for not making it to the Mizuno dinner, but had to drown the sorrows.
Yeah, I'm sure that there was a bit of Japanese whiskey getting around the traditional dinner. A few executives, I reckon.
Yeah, there was like lots of beer and sake and stuff being served.
Oh,
it was
nice.
good.
Yeah. All right. So you have a good time. You're back home, obviously. Or no, you're still over there. Clearly, you're drinking from a tiny cup, and you've got one of those privacy screens behind you.
No, I'm still here. I'm out in Kyoto at the moment.
Yeah,
nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Has the weather been perfect every single day?
No, yesterday it poured all day, but all other days have been really nice.
Yeah. Okay. Reece, you're the finisher. You saw the most amount of the course, so you'd be the next best to take us through your race review, or any other chat about No, I'm happy to hear the chat about the midnight runners.
Oh, no, we've touched base on that. Do I have to go through my whole week, or are we just going straight to the race?
Why don't you go through and just give us a little bit of a rundown of what a post-marathon, pre-marathon week looks like?
Okay. So on the Monday, tapped out 14 Ks, and my legs were feeling good.
This is the day after the marathon, right?
Yeah, that's the day after the marathon, so feeling pretty good.
Yeah, and you having a like chat to the fellas this day, telling them how fast you're going to run.
Yeah, full of confidence, full of beans, full of confidence. Like absolute nothing could go wrong, lads. Like
just smoke them up cult.
Yeah, the cult of Reece Edwards is about to begin. Like we're on here. Don't you worry about a thing. We're on. So that was Monday. Tuesday I did 9.8K, very easy jogging. And then Wednesday I did like a bit of a session. I did 20 minutes at what was meant to be my goal marathon pace. So I did 20 minutes at about 3:06 pace. And then I did 4 by 60 seconds, and like it did feel really good. It did feel really good at the time.
It's pretty fast. Yeah. 2:45s, 2:46, 2:49, 2:46. That's very quick.
Yeah. So no, everything. I was just feeling like a normal human being at this point of time. So I can't complain about that. Wednesday evening after that session, I got on the flight over to Japan, and we actually had no problems with the flight. It was like a good flight over. I might have made a rookie decision, so I guess I could touch on this later, but I'll just touch on it now. So I don't do the 1%ers very well, and
yeah,
I've walked onto this plane, no face mask. I had COVID in December. I'm invincible type attitude, and the guy who sits opposite me in the chair is just like full chest infection, wet cough type thing going on. And Ellie walks past onto the plane, and she goes, I was like, oh, geez, that mask is a good idea. She goes, yeah, I can give you one. And I'm just like, no, I'm fine. Like, I didn't want to take a mask off her. She might have preparing to go through 8 that flight. I don't know. So, yeah, anyway, I digress. So the flight's over. I didn't get delayed. All the flying all went well. Landed in Japan. Had some ramen, which was quite delicious. And then, this is when I did that 8 p.m. shakeout jog, which wasn't quite a shakeout jog. It was we stop every 400 meters and do like boot camp style stuff. So it could be like, a couple sets of high knees or push-ups or squats and because it was wet, I believe it because of the rain, they changed the course last minute. So they had us kind of run through shopping centers, which I think wasn't the original plan. So I think that's where they've fallen into a bit of trouble because they haven't gone and got like the shopping center permission or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was an experience. It was my first like experience of being in like a herd of influencers. Have you ever been in a herd of influencers? It's like being in a sheep herd on a farm, but I don't know. Everyone's got cameras and flashing, and it was an experience.
Yeah, it's a different world. I know it exists out there, and I know it's essential for like brands to use, but when you're coming at it from the athlete perspective, it's sort of like it's just a bit of a piss take. Like no one it's almost a disrespect to running. But it's part of our world now, and there's some really good runners that are also influencers, and there's some influencers that are terrible runners.
The day after that run, when I was down at breakfast, I was talking to one of the guys who was like a kind of influencer about the run, and I was asking how it was, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like we're doing these push-ups," and he was like, "There was one guy who reckons he's going to go for like 2:12, and he was there doing push-ups in the puddles," and I was like, "Yeah, I think I know who that guy
is." Yeah. Just 2 or 3 days out from the race.
I make silly decisions. I'm the sort of person where like if I go out for one beer with you and you want to push on to 8, I'm probably going to push on to 8 with you. And it was the same there. It was Thursday. I was ready to get dirty, so.
Yeah, you had heaps of time.
Yeah, heaps of time. By the way, I didn't do the push-ups. I literally just lay down in a puddle and just pretended I was doing them. Because at that point, I was trying to drown my sorrows with what the hell is going on around me. Anyway, so that was 5.4 kilometers in 90 minutes. So that was a good shakeout jog. That was on the Thursday. Friday, I got a 9.4K jog in, about 40 minutes. And once again, I was still like, I'm not really going to talk about it. So, because like I woke up with a scratchy throat, but I don't, it's not the thing at fault anyway. But I still felt good. My legs still felt good. Did 9K on the Friday. And then Saturday, I did a 30-minute jog on Saturday morning, and that leads us to the race. Race morning, woke up, had two waffles like I normally would. Was feeling, thought I was ready to rumble. Caught the bus, the taxi in, sat in the cold hall with Brady and Dean and Ridley and Mara and yourself, Julian, and I'm probably missing people. But
at this point, how are you feeling about the weather? Like, were you concerned it would be slow? Did you think that you would adjust your plans for the run?
Nah, the weather at this point, I was like, I didn't really know there was much wind out there. I just knew it was cold and wet, and I was like, I honestly, I didn't care about the weather. I was like, I thought I was switched on. I thought I was like gonna just jump into a pack and like just let it flow. I'll warm up. I wasn't too concerned. I wasn't changing race plans or anything like that. I wasn't phased.
Did you know of any pace groups for the men? Like, was there going to be a 2:12 pacer or quicker?
Nah. So when I went to elite briefing on Saturday, I asked about pace groups, and they said, Mr. Reece, number 1, 2:58 per kilometer. And I said, okay. And the second option, and they said, Mr. Reece, 3. And I'm like, come on, what's next? 3:00. And I said, Mr. Reece don't like either. So no, I had no idea about pace groups, but my whole plan was going to be lose 5 to 10 seconds off that second group or whatever. Just lose a little bit of time and hope that a group forms behindhand. And actually, that's how it played out. Like, if I had the legs, it played out almost how I would have dreamt of. So the group went out, and the first kilometer, and I was just running in the main pack, and I was thinking, this must mean I'm going to run a 2:58, and this is a downhill kilometer. And I went through the first K in 3:05, and that was probably the first sign that you're in trouble, son.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. And then, so my plan was, like I said, I let that group kind of get away from me, and the plan was just lose a little bit of time and see who's going to pick you up around there. And a little group formed, and Dave Ridley was in that group as well. And I thought, like, he's coming out real hard. He's going with me. I wasn't checking my watch at this point, so I just committed to this group. And maybe like 100 meters up the road, I could see another group had formed. And then when we went through 5 kilometers, I was thinking my watch would say 15:20, and it said 15:50. And I was like, I was already slower than my PB pace. And I was like, it wasn't that I was disappointed I went through in 15:50, as that how it felt to go through in 15:50. I just like, it was just hard work. But I don't like let stuff like that mentally bring me down, because I'm like still not far from PB pace. So I thought if this group stays like this, there's maybe like 8 guys in this group, I reckon. So I just sat in this group, and I was just like, the longer I stay here, maybe like things will turn around, because they have in the past. So I just stayed with this group through 10K, 15K, and then all the way to halfway. We went through halfway in like 66:35. And I thought to myself, like, that's not bad. Like, I'm actually right around my PB now. But
so you
I had
picked
been
it up a bit from 5
yeah,
to
we
20.
yeah, it had picked up slowly, but I was suffering like an absolute dog. Like I was
You
I
look
was just
strong when I saw you at 20K. Like, you look very smooth. But
yeah, but I think that's just I naturally just look like that.
yeah.
And like I had used a lot of emotional energy just to get to halfway to be like hoping that my legs would come good. And I got to like 23K and a couple of guys made a surge in the group. And I just decided not to go with that surge because I was still feeling like shit. And I kind of just got a little bit isolated. And then I think that was the moment where I was just like mentally kind of was just like, you've been suffering for a dog for like an hour and 15. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And Ridley at this point was still with me. And I was like, I knew he was like at this stage on for like a huge PB. And I was like, would have loved to have helped him. And I think I could run for about 400 meters for him. And then I was just like kaput. Like, I just felt like I just could not lift my legs, could not run. So yeah, from about 25Ks, it just went disaster zone. And I wasn't cold. I won't complain about the weather or the conditions for that first 25, actually. It wasn't until I was jogging it in and isolated that I was like, now I'm cold and like, yeah, really bad.
So you turn the corner at 30K, because looking at the map, there's a hill at 30, or like there's a hill at like 32.
Yeah.
And then you go along a section and you turn at 35.5, and you've got a 5K straight basically. And that was a dead headwind. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I'm running like 4:17s, 4:20 pace along there. And I'm
not looking at the pace, but yeah, no,
you're
not
pretty.
You're
pretty.
jogging along there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's run home from work.
It's run home from work pace, but just like your body just feels like it's in torture mode. And you're just like, I just want to finish, because if I pull off the course right now, I don't have a clue where I am. There's no one out here who's going to come save me. It's like my best option is just to make it to the finish line. And I'm just jogging in like this, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, what am I going to run? 2:30, something like that. Oh well. And then all of a sudden you're like 3K to go, and you're like, wait, the elite women are only just getting up to me, and they're probably like low to mid 220s. Oh, maybe push it along a little bit, and it's not that bad.
It looks like
but yeah, it's very character building.
Your pace went from 4:30 to like 3:20, 3:10. In like 2 steps.
I know, and that's what's frustrating, because it's like I don't know, like I was a bit mentally weak. Like if I could have done that earlier, yeah.
Because you helped sort of get Lisa through, or like from what you said, Lisa came like close to you around the last couple of K, and you finished.
I finished around Lisa.
If like you hadn't have had someone that come through, and because you were trying to help get her to the finish, would you think you would have like dropped to like 3:10s or whatever it was, 3:20s for the final few K? Or
no, probably not. I'd been jogging it in for about 45 minutes.
Going through your mind in that 45 minutes, like it's a long time.
Yeah.
To be out there running slowly but still hating every step. What goes through your mind?
So when it first happens, you think, I effing hate this sport. But I must admit, I was yelling at myself. I was just kind of like, what were you thinking? Like, you got overconfident. Running Port Fairy was a stupid idea. You disrespected the marathon. You disrespected people that run the marathon. You're disrespecting the running world. Like, you're not a hero. You're pretty shit runner, realistically. This is the sort of stuff that goes through your head. And then you kind of just like, you know what, you kind of grieve a little bit through that phase, thinking like that. And you're like, do I really want to be a marathoner? Do I like the marathon? You think about all these things. And then the cold starts to catch up. And you're like, yeah, geez, I'm cold. And then you kind of like, yeah, just finish it. You know, you're a tough man. You can finish this. And yeah, so you kind of grieve, and then you come out, I don't know, maybe grieve for 15, 20 minutes. And then you kind of come out of it, and you just, unfortunately, by the time you come out of it, you're probably in a good state to run again.
Yeah.
But at that point, you're kind of cold and locked up, and you just don't care, where you're like, oh, just keep jogging. But yeah, that's what went through my head anyway. So by the time you hit the finish line, everyone's like, I'm so sorry. Like, they don't want to talk to you, and they think you're going to be angry. And you're like, trust me, I'm not angry anymore. I'm just happy to have a warm blanket around me, and I'm ready to go again.
Do you reckon this podcast has been a bit of on your race, do you reckon it created more mental stress for you, doing a podcast where you're telling everyone your plans and everyone's like calling you out? Because like, obviously I talked about it, but everyone, I was looking at your Strava comments and stuff like that, and everyone's coming up to me at the store, like running, going, oh, Reece, how about Reece Edwards? What's he doing? And I'm like, oh, I really don't think it's like, maybe I've overplayed this, but I don't feel like it's that big a deal for a guy like him to do this. Like, realistically, 2:22 for a guy who wants to run 2:12 is not crazy. It is. No. I mean, you shouldn't have done it. Like, we all know that, but it's not crazy. And I reckon there was a lot of people looking at you, and I reckon you might have felt those eyes a bit.
Like, I didn't change my training or my race plan because of the podcast. That's for sure. To be honest, I didn't realize until the days leading in, like, how opinionated people were about it. And like, I didn't think people actually, like, people don't, I'm a nobody. And after this podcast, I'm happy to sail into the sunset. And you, like, after tonight, you don't have to hear from me again. And I honestly didn't really realize, how opinionated people get on other people's training. And I don't think it was a downfall. I think, to be honest, having the podcast and knowing people's opinions and how strongly they were about it probably even got me to halfway. It got me to 23K because I was like, no, you're having a bad day, but even on a bad day, you know, you're tough. You can do this. And yeah, I don't think Port Fairy was the sole thing as well. I just had a shocker. I could have had a shocker no matter what. Did I feel podcast stress or pressure? Like, I'm not used to having that many people talk about me or talk about my running. So yeah, it may have been a little bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like there was a lot. People liked your rogue element, and that's why everyone was sort of interested in what would happen, and it was like a breath of fresh air. I think a lot of people compared to some robotic type personalities that are in running.
But I think the lesson that I learned from this was, like, I probably am a little bit too relaxed and maybe a little bit too rogue, because the people I'm trying to compete against, they're doing these 1%ers. I don't think I've got the personality to do the 1%ers, but just, I don't know, little things like put a mask on, or I don't know, little things like don't do a marathon before another marathon. And
you wouldn't say those are the 1%ers. It's like not doing a marathon and
before a marathon.
Yeah.
Putting a mask first, running 42K hard the week.
There was even talk after a couple of years that Reece said he might even get a coach. So
uncoachable. He's actually said that he's uncoachable.
I do believe I am uncoachable, because I just my personality is always going to come out where I'm like, if I find a coach that doesn't lock me in, and I come up with an idea and they're like, okay, yes, you can do that idea, but this is how we may be able to do it. Maybe that's the sort of coach I need. But if I have a coach, I'm like, this is my idea, and they're like, no, absolutely not. then it's probably where I'm uncoachable.
That would never work though. Like,
No.
if that would be terrible coaching to grab you and say, all right, there's none of this. You're not going to run home from work tonight. You're going to wake up early and do a double run or whatever. It's like,
Yeah. It's probably more just needing someone to support me through my sessions and just, I mean, I've got Al there who's doing that already, and Al probably now we're becoming good enough friends where he now probably will voice a little bit more, nah, Reece, if you're going to take, say, Gold Coast for real, because Gold Coast is always the one this year that I really wanted to go harder. So if he's like, if you're doing Gold Coast serious, then let's do it serious. So, we'll see how it happens.
Yeah. He's been around the block too. He knows.
Yeah, exactly right. He's a guy I trust, and, he's got the knowledge. So, so I'll still be a bit of a rogue unit, but I'm a bit pissed off that I didn't pull it off. I am pissed off, to be honest.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
But even a 2:15, if I had just pulled, and I thought I was going to run a 2:30, to run a 2:24, I walked 4 times.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but like someone like Brady, after about 15 beers, Brady decided to finally start giving me shit about beating me. And I was like, mate, I walked 4 times before you got me. You didn't get me to the 36-kilometer mark, and I'm running 4:15. It's like, if I had known he's going to give me shit, I would have picked that pace up earlier.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize. I don't remember that. Didn't hear that. That is brave for him.
Yeah. No, as tongue in cheek. Yeah. Well, to be honest, he's 2-0 against me in marathons. I've never beaten him.
Oh boy, you'd be the only one he's got that record against.
Yeah.
All right.
So mate. We'll
talk about what's up next later. I might just we got Dino Menzies coming on. He had a fairly good one, so he'll be in at 8. He'll be in a few minutes. Why don't I just talk about my week quickly, and what went wrong for me? You will. I got sick. Remember, I think I talked about my getting sick last week. It ended up going away. So I got over to Japan, and I was just a bit chesty, but it was all right. Like I didn't have any type of flu symptoms, or I didn't feel unwell or fatigued. So I was quite happy with how that went away. I did on let me just have a quick squeeze here. I reckon Monday, I went for a I think I had Monday off actually. I did 3 by. Sorry, I'm fucking this up massively. I did have Sunday off, and I ran Monday. I ran 10K. Then Wednesday, I did a little workout down the bottom of the hill down here. I did 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 6 minutes with a 2-minute jog. Felt really good, like quite annoyingly good, considering what happened. Like I had the brakes on. I was specifically keeping the pace within what I wanted to, which was sort of marathon effort. So finished that and felt really good. And I was on the plane after that. We actually had pretty nice flights through Taiwan. It was a pretty easy transfer. Got to see an hour of very early morning Taiwan. Then went to Tokyo, went out for a jog that afternoon with Bree. We ran around the castle. Legs felt shit, freezing cold. Put that down to travel. Next morning, went out to Yoyogi Park, which is sort of my favorite place to run in Tokyo. It's got a dirt loop around the outside, but it was pretty wet, so we were getting so it was a bit muddy. And then they've got a really good loop on the inside. You can do workouts and jog around. So just ran 10K and then picked it up towards the end. Ran around the castle with Bree the next morning. That felt really good. I did surges. That was the best I've felt in ages. Just ran 7K or so. Then we went to Osaka that afternoon, caught the bullet train down, and ran around Nagai Park on, I think this was Saturday morning. So this is another park that's quite good to run around, better than the castle. I didn't really want to see 500 people that I knew as well and have to have the same conversation about the weather and, you know, what I was going to run, what they were going to run. I'll save that for afterwards. So I ran with Kieran and Bree and Ali, and it was good. There was a half marathon going on around this little loop. So we were sort of running and they were passing us. It was fun. But I had a bit of a niggle behind my knee. It was like a meniscus thing that I get occasionally. It like flap gets caught, and it just locks up. And so I felt shit, to be honest. I stopped that and thought that's the worst day to get it. But then it went away by the afternoon and I was fine. The race, like, we put so much energy, our little group, chatting about the weather and the cold and what we were going to wear, and we're fucking hunting around the city for a specific glove or an arm warmer or a neck warmer or heat patches and all this stuff. Felt like we were just like had so much energy and we're just directing it into this cold day thing. I'm not sure it was good for us all, because like it just puts this real negative spin on the race and the conditions. And in the end, like, I felt like we almost talked ourselves out of it before it had started. But the race morning came. It was pissing rain on the way there, like coming out the train station. And then we went out for our warm up after we got to the school that we were meeting at, and it was fucking perfect. Like, it was cold. It was no wind. It was no rain. We could see some sun starting to come through. And I said to Ali at the time, I'm like, we're on today. Like, this is perfect. We've been worrying about nothing. And I'm like, if we got this in Ballarat, this would be the best day that Ballarat's ever fucking had, ever. And we're sitting here complaining about it somehow. So for me, I was wanting to run around. I wanted to go through in about 70 minutes and kick down. Realistically, the course I don't think is set up too well to do that, just because for like there's a hill, the decent hill. Not that I saw it, but I saw it on everyone's Strava. There's a decent hill at 35k mark, and you are a lot more exposed to the weather, it looks like, in the second half than the first half. The way the wind was blowing, we copped a lot of you guys copped a lot of headwind at 35 to 40. So you're fatiguing, you're cold, you've got a headwind. It just wasn't set up to run fast in the back half. So anyway, I went through 5k. We went through in 16:40 on the dot. That's a little over 2:20 pace, but I was very content with how it felt. Then we started to pick it up a little bit. The women's pacer was supposed to be 3:19, but that guy was running 3:19s perfectly, but the women weren't going with him. So a bike rider came up next to him, pulled him out of the pack, and said, "Get back and run with the women," basically. And so he just drifted to the side, and we never saw him again. And we started to run about 3:18s. I think our next sort of few 5k were like 16:40s and 16:45s, that kind of pace, or maybe 16:35s, just all around that area. I was feeling really good. I started to get tight through my hamstrings, which I've had a little bit of tightness in. And the Port Fairy, I look back at this Port Fairy workout I did, and it says hamstring tight, because I remember the hammy being a little tight, and now I go back and look at it, and I'm like, well, that's the sign. That was the sign right there. That was 7 or 8 days before the race, and the hammy was obviously showing signs of tightness. I got to 15k, and I started to just get tight up high in the hammy, so up into the glutes, and then the one side came good, and the other side started to get actually really bad. And at about 20k, I was running down a hill, and that little bit more extension was just so sharp, the pain, that I actually couldn't run anymore. So I stopped. I said to Brady, I've got to stop. My hammy's bad. And I thought, I'll jog for a little bit, see if it improves. Maybe it's like a tendon thing that sort of comes on, and then I can run through it and it gets better. But
tendons don't normally come on like that.
Yeah, I know. I didn't really know what it was. It felt like a strain, to be honest. It felt like I'd really strained my hammy. But again, they don't come on slowly like that, do they?
No.
It's a bit weird. So then I got to like Ali's pack rolled past and I jumped into the middle of it. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to run with you guys for a bit. And about 20 meters, I'm like, fuck, I can't run at all. But I'm stuck in this big pack of women and men.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I get to the outside? So I nearly took about 4 women out trying to get to the inside lane. And I saw you, Rach, around that time, I reckon. Yeah. You were the first person I saw when I basically decided to can it. And luckily I stopped fairly close to where Jose and Bree were watching from, which was that corner intersection. I was freezing. So once you stop, I just started to fucking shiver walking along the sidewalk. Everyone's like looking at you like, what's going on? Like, you're supposed to be in the race. And I stopped a volunteer. I asked for a poncho. Thought they might have him on the side. And he dug into his own bag and got me a poncho, which was pretty nice.
Oh, good man.
Legend of a bloke. And then I trudged on it probably, 500 meters a K down the road, found Joseph and Bree and followed them around, trying to watch everybody. I saw you go past once, Reece. You had dropped off at that point, 25K. I missed Dean, I reckon. Oh, no, maybe I saw Dean at that point. I can't fully remember who I saw. I did see the front. I thought I saw the front guys come through. But then we missed everyone at 40 anyway. I was trying to find the bag drop area. I didn't have my pass, so I couldn't. Yeah. So the Japanese, they're so rigid. Like, that's the one frustrating thing about Japan is there's no solutions found. It's like yes or no. There's oh, yeah, that's fair enough. That makes sense. You don't have your pass because you're a runner. So why would you have your pass? Oh, yeah, okay.
I got my bib on me.
Yeah, I've got my bib. You can come through. They're like, no pass. Just this. Bang. No pass. I'm like, I can see my back. Like, I can see where I need to be. Can I just get my bag? No pass. And so that we had to walk all the way around the other side of the castle, like pissing rain, freezing cold. Had a cooked hammy. I'm like getting pretty upset by then, like just mad. Get changed, come outside, try to find Ali, because at that point I knew she was blown and I knew she was off the course somewhere. Jose had walked back towards 35K, called him. He hadn't seen her. I went to the medical tent. They hadn't seen her. Her bag was still there. So she was literally missing, missing in action. I assumed that like Joe said, she probably went back to her hotel. So he had headed back to the hotel to see if she was there. And then she ended up calling Bree off PJ Bosch's Tara Palm's partner's phone because I used his phone when I found him on the side of the course. So he had her number saved. So luckily,
oh wow,
yeah. And we were in the train station ready to go back. So we zipped around, went back to the thing. We ended up getting home at like 1:30 after the race started at 9. It was just a fucking ordeal. It was just a really shit experience. And this hamstring, like I thought, that afternoon, it actually felt all right. I thought, what the fuck? This is, I want it to be bad just to justify pulling out. And then I tried to jog on it yesterday and it actually is bad. Like it's a proper injury. I need to, it pulled up shit. It's real tight.
Is it right up deep in your glute or is it?
Sort of like, it's not in my glute. No, it's in my hammy. When I extend, like when I go into extension when I'm walking, I can feel it at the end of the range. So I'm not sure. I have to get it treated. Ali's going to try to diagnose it tomorrow, and then I might get a scan Monday just to see what's really going on.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a low-grade strain, hopefully.
Yeah,
but you don't want it to be bad enough that you can justify it like a strain, but like something like maybe grade 2, a couple of weeks.
I definitely couldn't have run on it. That's for sure. Like it was like on the day, it was like bad. I thought I was pinged it. Anyway, that was me. We have someone here. Let's bring some positivity in.
Yeah, bring the positivity in. The Moose Hunter! The Moose Hunter's in the house.
It's funny he says that because he's 4 minutes off my time. So he's hunted and missed.
He's come back with no deer.
That's right.
Dean, here he is. He's our man. Dean, you ran really well, mate, I thought.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah. That wasn't too
bad. When are you going to have a bad one?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I still haven't had a good one. So it's all right.
Yeah, what, you're Mr. Vanilla, are you?
Yeah, pretty much. Consistent.
Yeah, so Dina, you've run 218. What was it? 218 what?
50, I think, or 48 or around that.
Yeah, you're smart because you're on Strava, you've written 218, but I reckon if you ran 218.02, you're riding 218.02.
You're allowed to cut the seconds off, aren't you, in the marathon?
Once it's over 40, you cut them off.
That's right.
Tell us about it, mate. How did you find the race? How did it play out? Obviously, pretty well.
Yeah, not too bad. So I sort of wanted to be a bit more, because doing it last year, I thought I had a fair idea in terms of how things would play out, and sort of thought that the weather, at least the wind and the temperature, was pretty similar. So I was trying to be a bit optimistic that maybe things would feel pretty similar to last year, with the hope that maybe I'd go out a bit quicker and that would, result in a PB. So I went through the first K, I think pretty quick. Brady was with me and we both sort of said, oh, that's a spicy first K for us. And we could sort of see Reece and Dave a bit up the road, but we weren't too far off. Sort of those packs were sort of forming around that 3-minute pace and we weren't too far off. So the plan after that was to sort of find a group and get some company and switch off. But that sort of didn't really play out. We sort of had people surging past us or slowing down, and it didn't feel super comfortable. You sort of just want to go to sleep for that first half. It just didn't really feel like that. At least the first 10, I think I split maybe say between 16:10, 16:15 through that first 5K, and it just didn't feel chill. And I think the idea is that you sort of want to build every 10K, and it didn't feel like that was going to be the case. And my legs felt a little bit unusual. I don't know if it was because they were wet or what was going on, but that next 5K, I tried to keep staying assertive, but it sort of wasn't really resulting in terms of pace. So I think I slowed a bit, might have been 16:20, 16:25 through for the next 5K section. And then we would have doubled back. And I think I saw you guys, and you were just, Julian, you were just behind a bigger group, I think, and I didn't realize there was a couple of pacemakers in that group in front of you, and they were sort of, so there was 2 pacemakers. Did you see that large group that you were sort of in front of a group, and then there was a group in front of you?
Yeah,
Did you see that?
I thought that was the 220 group. That was I because they were a little bit ahead of us at 5K, and that would have put them on 220 pace. So I assumed that was it.
Yeah, well, so I was sort of, leaking a bit of time and sort of didn't feel like I was making much headway by myself. So that group caught us maybe around 18 or so K, and I sort of latched onto that. And I still wasn't feeling super flash, they weren't coming easy, but I just thought at least I'll sit in this group, see how long I last with them, switch off, get in my nutrition. And nutrition-wise, that all went to plan. I managed to get in, 100 odd grams an hour, or that was all no problem. Getting my bottles, getting in gels, that was all good. And pretty much from that 18 to 30K sat in that, we split 69:15 maybe through halfway. And that was with those 2 pacemakers sitting in the front, and there was maybe a dozen of us or 10 of us through 25K. And then it started to sort of fall apart. So those 2 pacemakers stayed to 30K, and then they both peeled off. They must have been set for then. So they both peeled off, and then there was only 2 of us left, I think, or the 2 others and myself. And then that's when we saw Reece up the hill. We sort of caught up to Reece and he said a couple of encouraging words, and we.
Oh, what a good man! What did I say?
It was very nice. Oh, you said finish it. I think you said finish it off, and I was like, oh, I still got 12K, but I'll try. And so and the splits again was, I sort of knew I was a bit off like PB pace, and I didn't feel like I was running on. And the guys were with weren't really keen on doing much, so I sort of knew that at 35K I probably needed to do most of the work. And so split through 30. There was one guy left probably at 35K, and he sort of sat on me through that stretch that's sort of into that headwind. Yeah, and whereas last year I had a bit of a run, whereas I was sitting on someone else last year, and I was probably pretty lucky. I had a much easier day of it, I suppose. But I wasn't feeling. I probably started to come. I felt decent through there. I wasn't probably, the splits weren't reflecting it, but I felt all right. There was quite a bit of carnage up the road, so sort of just trying to catch people and feed off that momentum, really. And then you sort of hang a left, and you know you've got 7 minutes left, so pushed on. Sort of knew it wasn't going to be a PB, but it still wasn't, wasn't a terrible day, I suppose. But you're just trying to make sense of where your body's at and trying to feel what was right for the day. And I think I was still pretty spent by the time I crossed the line.
Yeah, geez, you've done well to hold on. Like, there were very, very few negative splits out there on the day, and you've come close. You haven't pulled it off, but you've done well to be feeling like what you were at 5K, and then be able to come home so strongly. At Reece, you made good reference to emotional energy. Like it feeling like it's not quite right at 5K and thinking about how it's harder than it should be for such a long time. That's a hard thing to overcome and stay on the positive side of, because I feel like most people would let that like drill into them and then they would succumb to that feel. That's you, Dino. You didn't. You're the
you didn't, Dean. Yeah, because I was saying, Dean, in my recap that I was a bit like you, and I was suffering like a dog, and it sounds like I may have felt similar to you. And by about the 23-kilometer marker, it just never was getting better for me. So I kind of just mentally was just like, I can't handle this anymore. Whereas you somehow, what's going through your head? Just like, is it because you're around guys? Is that making it easier to keep going, or what?
Yeah, I was probably pretty lucky that group sort of came through when it did, because I think there was probably 10Ks where I got to stop thinking and just said, run with them and switch off. So I think that definitely made a difference. And I think it's sort of switching. I don't know, the goalpost shifted, because instead of getting that positive feedback, like I prior to this one had only positive split a marathon, and I sort of only ever fed off that positive energy of feeling good late. So this was not nowhere near as much fun in that regard. So I think it was more just thinking less about it, and just sort of just focusing on racing. And there were still times when, like, there's a lot of times, more times when I felt good than I felt worse than I felt good. But I still probably had those patches, where you kind of come through the other side after a few K, and it's exciting, and you feel like you can run on, and you want to jump out from the pack and start surging, and then you are glad you didn't. So I definitely feel it feels so much easier when you can find feet. That was probably the main thing that helped me. But the hard part, I think, in this race in particular, is there wasn't too many people feeling great early. Like, it was sort of only the group were only heading in one direction. So
it did. I think the wet of, like, the water sitting on the ground that's flicking up and sitting on your legs being so cold, like that, I think that kind of, a lot of people felt tight and felt like their legs were locking up, and I reckon that might have something to do with it. You could be onto that, just being wet rather than just being cold. Yeah,
well, because that's the only different variable, was the fact that it was wet. I think when it was cold last year, it was lovely. But being cold and wet, I don't know if it's the combination of everything being a bit heavy because it's waterlogged, combined with what's happening to, our peripheral, legs. They just felt, they didn't feel great. But again, you sort of go Googling for answers like you go Googling for good weather forecast to sort of justify why it didn't stick, right? But it didn't.
And I guess that's one of the scary parts is we can sit here and say how, we're wet, we're cold, our muscles will go numb and that, and then you got a guy that weighs 42 kilos dripping wet that runs 206 on his debut at 21 years of age. Like, the conditions aren't that bad, are they, lads?
Nah.
Let's be honest.
We ignore those.
It was the worst weather I'd ever encountered. It was amazing we managed to finish,
Yeah. So two times there, Dean. You recommending Osaka to people? Are you going to go again?
It's difficult, right? In the sense that was the only day it rained. Like the days before, it was lovely. The days after, it was lovely. It's a night. It feels like it has the potential to be good. And this time last year, I sort of wasn't in great shape going into it and had a really good run and a really enjoyable experience. So I still think it has potential to be good. And Japan as a city, I'm sure you guys will all agree, like even before and days after, it's such a nice place and the food's good and great place to carb load. So I don't know, certainly and the time zone, like I felt like a lot of there were so many good elements to it, and even the build, there was a great vibe, and training over our summer I think helps. So there's still so many good elements to it. It's just a shame that on race day it sort of didn't allow us to sort of cash in.
Do you know, that just reminded me about how annoying it is to carb load and then pull out at halfway, and how shit that makes you feel, knowing that you've just dumped like a tremendous amount of calories in your body that you have not burnt off or even come close to. Oh fuck. I think Osaka, like, it is very cold there. Like I've been there twice. You've been there twice. It's been really cold both times. Wet once, really cold once. It's almost borderline too cold, maybe.
Yeah, well, I didn't think that was a thing. Exactly. Is that, and that's what we're completely not accustomed to, right? If that's actually, there's a threshold. I think you just think the colder you can get, the faster you'll run, and you chase this cold weather. Like I was contemplating a marathon, which is 2 weeks after Osaka, but the idea is they're coming out of their winter, so it might be too warm, and you're thinking 10 degrees is too warm, but maybe that's a miss.
Yeah. What does Rachel think? What does the doctor think about this?
I don't know. Thinking about it, like I do wonder if you compare somewhere like Osaka to Valencia, so what was it, like 6 degrees, whereas Valencia tends to be like 9, 10. Yeah. I think if you're going to blow up, it makes it more salvageable if it's a bit warmer, because everybody that did blow up talked about, once I started to fade, I just then started to get like a lot more cold, because then you're having to use a lot more energy just to temperature regulate, right? Whereas if you're somewhere that's like 10, 11 degrees and it's like in Valencia, it's sunny, so you don't feel quite as cold. Like I felt like I blew up a bit in Valencia, but I never like completely dropped down to like I think my slowest pace would have been around 3:45, 3:50, and my goal pace was like 3:40. So only 5 to 10 seconds a K, because I think you could just like sustain it. Whereas I think if it's a lot colder, it just makes it much harder to sustain a blow up. But I guess if you go and you're having the optimal race, then it probably doesn't matter so much. Like if you just manage to push through it at your same even pace, then it probably doesn't really matter whether you race that in 6 or 10, 11. I don't know.
6 and wet is also, like Dino said, a bit different to 6 and dry.
Yeah.
I reckon. And 6 and wind versus 6 and dead still. Probably not as cold either. I think the condition, like if you're getting 10 with a bit of wet, we're all right. And if you're getting 10 with a little bit of wind, you're not really getting that cold. But 6 with wind and wet, that's going to cut you in half. All right.
The 2 times I've done the marathons in the wet, because BWA was a bit the same in 2020, and the people that I was sort of warming up with, a lot of people were applying like a deep heat or something like that. Like, was that a miss as well, do you think? Like, should we have applied some sort of local?
I went out looking for it actually, but I couldn't really find, like, I didn't know what the creams, like we were asking for the creams in the pharmacy, but no one could really understand us. So I bought the heat patches, and it's sort of like a deep heat, I'm guessing, sort of chemical. And I put it on my back, and it kept me really warm. Put on the hammies because I knew they were tight, but it didn't work. But it definitely keeps you a bit warmer. Like even just walking back, I'm like, oh, my hammies are still warm because of those patches. But even they kept saying put Vaseline on, like like cover yourself in Vas.
Yeah, just adds an extra layer.
Yeah,
probably stops the wet from.
Because they put that on their cheeks when they climb Everest, don't they? They put some Vaso under their eyes.
Yeah, and like if you swim the channel, you cover yourself in goose fat. For an extra
in goose fat when you want to go.
If you want to do it legally,
get some goose fat
for a record. You're not allowed to wear a wetsuit apparently, so everybody like covers themselves in goose fat.
Goose fat. That's a fun fact. What about Moose? You didn't have goose fat on, mate, but you had some sort of bloody contraptions all around your body. They didn't keep you warm?
The fighting dots.
The fighting dots? What are those things? Is that just so the president of Japan can keep track of where you are?
Did you see the winner? Did you see what he was wearing?
He had dots all over his throat, yeah.
I rest my case. It actually, I just put him around my neck because I didn't know where else to put him. I saw him in a sports shop. Well, I got told, actually, fella from On said, get on this. All the OAC fellas love him. Said every time I go to Japan, they call him and they tell him to bring back packets of them. I'm like,
what is it? Like, what's the
science?
Yeah,
don't know. Actually, don't know.
What's the science? Yeah. Doesn't matter. You run fast. You look cool doing it.
Yeah, I just put a few on my neck, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is doing. But
do they recommend putting them on certain places of your body, or does it matter where you put them?
I don't know. No, I don't know. Like, I fully don't know. It was. I knew it couldn't hurt. I knew it couldn't hurt. Yeah. I thought it was quite Japanesey, so let's have a crack at it.
That's nice of you.
Yeah. Dean, thanks for coming on. What's next for you? You got one lined up?
I'm looking for a marathon to do on Sunday, No.
Do it, you pussy.
Yeah. I like that from you.
Yeah. Maybe Gold Coast mid-year or half marathon around that time.
Bit of a Gold Coast specialist.
Yeah, hopefully. I think the pick of it was nice Saturday morning, wasn't it, for the half last year? So hopefully we get that on Sunday. Brady and I had to tough it out in tough weather on the Sunday.
Hot. It was actually fine last year, I reckon, on Sunday. I reckon it was about 17. I was out watching. It was beautiful weather.
Yeah, nice day for spectating,
Dean, I'm going to kick you out. You're getting too cheeky. Good on you. Well done. Good.
Well done.
Nice run, mate. Well done.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Good.
1 sec, guys. The Mizuno Wave Sky is a high cushion daily trainer that provides runners with a smooth underfoot feeling. As other trainers become stiffer and more aggressive underfoot, the Wave Sky 7's traditional geometry provides runners with a soft and protective ride suited for your easy jogging through the week. All right. Now, a couple of questions going forward because this is our sign-off show. We'll start with Rachel. How on earth are you going to know when to start running again?
I don't know. I have no idea.
No, we're just going to...
She won't find out till she starts.
Yeah. I think, I have a provisional scan booked. So if I decide that I want to get one, I've got the appointment booked for when I get back. But I don't know. I've now been pain-free for how long's it been? Maybe 5 weeks.
Jesus.
I would have run 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know a lot of other people would have. At the moment, because I'm a bit sick this week, the weather's cold. My partner hasn't been running because he ran the marathon on Sunday. There's no, I have no stress to get running this week. So I'll probably, wait out this week and probably next week as well. And then I might do maybe a couple of walk runs before flying back home.
You're kind of at the point where you're going to have to walk jog now, aren't you? to rebuild.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely have to do, like my physio had said, probably like 10 days to 2 weeks of run walking. So if I can just get the ball rolling on that before, even if I get that and still decide to get the scan, like at least that gets maybe the first 2 or 3 out of the way before.
Yeah.
And you're going to hold off entering a marathon until you're at least like, 80% fit, right? You're not going to, in 3 weeks' time, decide this is the marathon I'm aiming for?
No,
you're going to let your body, give your body time, not like a goal?
The tricky thing is though, because obviously it's a lot easier for me to get entries to races. Well, I think, I don't know how relevant my 2:34 from 2022 is anymore. But like my partner and I like usually plan to do a couple of marathons a year and plan our travels around that. So he has an entry for Berlin this year. So that was meant to be the plan, and that's about 7 months away. But again, like I'm just going to wait and see.
But when you have a marathon coming up, it adds so much stress because you're preparing. It's limiting. You're not like just take your time and listening to your body.
Yeah. I haven't like in my head. I haven't like planned. I want to get back for that. Like, I'm just going to see how it goes. So.
Yeah, I understand your predicament, but it is like kind of exactly the scenario that happened with this one.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
We enter, and then it's just like this rolling stone of disappointment too when you start missing them. Like I've been through it. I've missed a bunch in a row, and I was like, "Fuck, this is doing my head in too much."
Yeah, I just want to get to like a point where I can just feel like I'm running consistently and training for a good few weeks before thinking about that.
Yeah. Good. Now, how long have you got left in Japan?
Like 13 days or nearly 2 weeks.
Wow. You go. Where are you off to?
So after Kyoto, we're going to Tokyo to watch the marathon on Sunday and spend a few days there, and then we're going to Hakone, staying in an onsen for a couple of days, and then we're actually going to Ishigaki, which is one of the one of the smaller Okinawa islands, like not the big one. So spending like 4 or 5 days there, and it's like a tropical climate, so I think it's going to be like 25 degrees hopefully. That's why I might look to maybe do a bit of run walking there once the weather's nice and it's like beaches and stuff. So, and then one more day in Tokyo and then fly back.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. What's your favorite beer there?
I've been drinking, like I don't normally drink lager in Australia, but I've been drinking. I quite like Kirin.
Kirin, yeah.
Yeah. I think it goes well with the ramens and stuff like that. Like normally if I have a curry or something spicy, I'll always have a beer with it. So yeah, I've been drinking a fair amount of that and some sake as well.
And some sake.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't mind it. I don't mind. Yeah, don't mind a sake.
Apparently, you're supposed to sip it. I learnt that on
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Sunday night. Memories just coming back to Reece.
You're starting to get memories, mate. Yeah, I bought it. I bought some people some sake, and before I'm saying now you can sip it. Moose has already put it back in his throat.
I don't even remember what it tastes like. I still don't know what sake tastes like. I remember it being quite warm. Was it a warm one?
Well, yeah, they just poured it out of the bottle on the shelf.
I thought they had warm and cold sake though.
I don't know. I just went. At this point, didn't know what I was even asking for. I just said, count how many people's heads are over there and give me that many.
So you got the ordering app, like you scan the QR code. I ordered 2 bottles of $250 whiskey, and the bloke brought them over to the table, and he goes, "This one, you want this one?" I'm like, "Yeah, 2 bottles." And he's like, and then he showed me the price, and I'm like, "Yeah." In my head, I'm like, "It's $22, good deal."
Oh no! Bottles.
And then someone sitting next to me, they're like, "No, that's $240 or something." And I said, "What, for 2?" And and that was a save by that person next to me at the time.
Yeah,
a real save.
Do you get that conversion wrong?
It would have been good whiskey, my favourite whiskey, but geez, expensive.
Yeah.
So Reece, you've got Gold Coast you want to run. Clear, you sort of hinted at that before.
Yeah. So Gold Coast was always like my big plan this year. Actually, after doing Melbourne, Singapore double, I wasn't like, 100 wasn't going to commit to like a February marathon, and then these kind of just opportunities presented themselves, and I've got myself fit, my body's fine, like I got through injury free, so Gold Coast is the one that hopefully I can turn up, and hopefully I can actually show what I'm made of up there.
Oh, I don't think anyone's doubting that. Gold Coast, hit or miss though, isn't it, for weather? It's an unpredictable one.
Yeah, and I guess you don't have as many packs. But I've never done the marathon, but yes, I'm fine with the course. Like, yeah, I have no problems. The course doesn't have to be interesting for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you a single thing on the side of the road from any of my marathons.
Yeah, that's true.
The wind, like hopefully there's some guys around you that can help with that. But look, when it comes to Australia, you haven't got much choices anyway. So, yeah.
Would you consider going back to Osaka?
Yeah, 100%. I reckon if I could get the time off work and financially do it, I reckon that my yearly structure would be like a Beppu or Osaka in February, Gold Coast July, say like a Melbourne in October, and then like a Fukuoka in December. I'd be happy with that, like a 4 marathon calendar every year for the next 5 years.
Doesn't give you a lot of like rebuild into like stressing different systems, does it? It just goes marathon.
Oh, yeah, and that's the kind of the thing I'm going to get out of right now. Like, I'm not going to start doing anything marathon specific until like 8 weeks before Gold Coast. I reckon I'm just going to try and find some 10Ks and just get like, I'm going to get faster over the 10K. And I reckon like the big thing before Osaka that I didn't do was like, that I've done before my other marathons is run like a good half, like where you really have to fight and you really have to suffer. Like the thing with Osaka is like, I don't think I was ready to suffer like I needed to suffer.
Do you think training is too easy?
Well, I think you can just go to a whole nother level when you're running. Like, there's just a whole nother level of suffering, I reckon. That you get out of a race. I didn't do anything prolonged. Like I didn't do 21Ks hard or anything like that in training. So maybe I needed that.
No, that's a good point. Those long tempos do condition your mind.
Yeah, because I find in training like those long tempos, so often on Strava I look like a beast, and it might say Reece has gone out and done a 20K tempo, but actually I probably was planning a 30K tempo. Like, like I cut a lot of my training short, and it looks like I'm doing crazy stuff, but actually the mind map's a bit crazier than what you think.
Will you consider doing hills? Because a lot of your long runs are flat, your daily runs are flat, workouts are flat.
Yeah. Hills is another big thing that I'd love to get in. Like before I ran my 63 half and 2:13 marathon, I was in Chamonix and I was doing like proper like mountain type running. So I reckon hills is something I need to get in, and just some hills is probably a big one.
Hills is good. Hills are the underrated, like
it's just so hard in Melbourne. Like
gotta get to Richmond, don't you? Richmond, Studley Park.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I am. I'm not that far away then.
Why don't you go there then? I've never seen any of your runs in Studley Park.
It's literally 3Ks from my house. Right. I'll find some new loops.
All right.
What's next for you, mate?
Yeah.
I got to get this hammy right.
Yeah, that's a bugger.
That's going to be it. And hopefully it can come good in maybe 1 to 2 weeks. We'll see. And then I'll jump on the bike for a bit. My plan going forward is to race more, because I was really pissed off after this one. I had such a good block, travel around the fucking world, pull out at halfway for an injury. I'm like, I got into shape for me, and I don't have anything to show for it. So I want to do Great Ocean Road Marathon. Maybe I'll.
Oh yes, good man.
Yeah, well, it's sold out. We'll see what we can do. But I'll maybe jump in Ballarat, help with Watto. Watto's going to do that, so pace Watto for a bit. Maybe some cross country stuff. That would be cool. And then later in the year, I was thinking maybe Sydney. I really like Sydney. I just think it's got a good fun. Yeah, I did. Like the course was hard for sure, but I like it. I like that it's not a flat, fast, bloody time trial, and you can sort of race it a little more.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
might come along so I can race.
Nah, Australian champs. We don't need anyone else there. So yeah, that's my plan. Cross country, jumping cross country. That's a heap of fun. Love it.
Yeah.
Who are you running for this year?
I haven't really. I don't know how much cross country I'll do. I've got to work that out.
You should do it. All right.
I had some good marathons after doing the cross stuff, so I should do it. But I've got to work out what's happening with St. Stephen's. Like if it's just a merger,
they're done. They are off. That's what happens when you buy a premiership, or you try to anyway.
Oh.
All right, I'll send you a text.
I'm going to work stuff out.
How much will it cost? How much will it cost? It got you to Osaka. It got you to Osaka.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm going to say thank you for coming along. Didn't really go how we all wanted, but that's fucking marathoning, isn't it?
Yep.
1 out of 3 finished. 0 out of 3 satisfied. Sorry for putting the curse on you, Rachel.
It's all right. Reece won his next marathon after the curse, so.
Yeah, that's true. And
that's very true.
Yeah. We're forgetting that he did win a marathon during this block as well.
Yeah, successful. I ran a fast time that day.
It's just the wrong race. All right. Well, keep in touch on Strava, Reece. You got it, Rachel. We're going to see you running in a couple of weeks. You'll be back on Strava or no? What do you reckon?
I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I don't mind having. I've just deleted the app off my phone and everything.
Yeah.
Good.
No.
Yeah.
I was thinking of getting off. Fuck, it's sort of.
Wow.
Yeah, just annoying me a little bit. I reckon there was a bit too much going on. I reckon there's a bit too much can affect your training. I don't think it's great for you.
Yeah.
Too much noise. Well, turn the volume down a bit.
I'll be there. I'll be there making noise. Don't you worry about that.
Now, this is you. This is your new life.
True.
You run 90-minute 5Ks and do push-ups and get in trouble on the internet.
No, I'm not reading that article.
All right, crew. Thanks a lot.
Yes, guys.
Right. Cheers.
See ya. The Inside Running podcast, Road to Osaka, was powered by Mizuno, committed to making marathons faster for now and the future.